Jewish task force are being implemented around schools here in Canada to combat the ongoing crazy out of control pro-Palestine protests. And a lot of those protesters now, the pro-Palestine people, they're actually being arrested and pepper sprayed. We're going to be taking a look at that later on in this video, as well as Justin Trudeau is potentially going to get replaced by Mark Carney, because Mark Carney is scheduled to deliver a speech at the end of this ongoing Liberal retreat. And we have a lot of other things to discuss in this video. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Happy weekend, by the way. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage everyone to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. It does really help grow the channel. And I do want to take a moment here to encourage you to click the link down below in the description or the pinned comment below to go and subscribe to Mr. Sunshine Extra. Just because it's a smaller account does not mean that the stories are any less important than they are right now, such as this one right here, Paid by Russia, where I apologize. I did post that on the Extra channel, and I highly recommend you guys go and check it out and try and help that channel grow. And without further ado, let's get into it. So we're going to start off with the polls. You have Conservative Party Canada here, still sitting at 210 projected seats. Bottom line 179, top end 233. Justin Trudeau and the Liberals at 81 projected seats. I predict that you're going to start to see that come down later in September, at the start of October, because they are booting up Parliament very, very soon, in about a couple of weeks. And Justin Trudeau is not a good debater. Pierre Poilievre, on the other hand, is. Pierre is a master debater. And every time he goes toe-to-toe with Justin Trudeau, he really sends him into this downward spiral where Trudeau just has a midlife crisis and throws these tantrums and whatnot. Then you have still 99% likely across the board for the Conservatives of winning the most seats and odds of a majority government. So everything is looking as it should right there. Nothing to worry about. Believe me, I would tell you if there was something to worry about. Now let's get into some of the news stories. So you have the Six Buzz here sharing a post saying Canadian universities see international students enrollment down 45% after the rule change. The system is just hanging on. And to that, I think a lot of Canadians would applaud that. And since it is a Liberal policy that was enacted, boo-boo, I guess. I mean, our country is pretty damaged by immigration. And there's been an ongoing argument, is it the immigrants' fault for finding loopholes and exploiting the system, or is it our government's fault? And I think a lot of people would have to say it's both. But I'd love to pass the question off to you. Whose fault is it? You even have CTV here saying backlash against immigrants challenges Canada's welcoming image. Canada has been very well known in the recent history for being this almost international airport where we just allow everyone to come into Canada and to apply for permanent residency and pretty much get it. I mean, for crying out loud, you can seek asylum in Canada under the guise of your sexual preference or sexual identity. That is wild. I know a lot of countries out there provide some sort of death penalty or insane repercussions for belonging to those categories, but still Canada to have that type of come here no matter how you identify. I mean, how do you even vet that? Like, what's the screening process? I don't believe that you are claiming the things that you are claiming. Like, no, that is anti-progressive for a progressive policy. It doesn't make any sense. So, of course, people have been exploiting it. And within CTV's article here, you see something like this. But concern over a shortage of housing and affordability appears to have weakened that consensus and given fresh life to years-old anti-immigration tropes, said Peter Smith, a researcher with the Canadian Anti-Hate Network, an advocacy organization, which is inherently very hateful and also wildly racist. People are looking for something to change, and people are also looking for someone to blame, he said, in a Dr. Seuss riddle. The target, unfortunately, and you know, a very easy one, is immigrants. Well, I think that the proof is in the pudding, and as you can see, Canada is in a lot of hurt, like a tremendous amount of hurt. But to combat some of this hurt, you have segregation is apparently a thing. Table Salt on X says, whoa, the government of Nova Scotia has built these 700 square foot boxes for people to live in. They call them pallets. And some of them are reserved for Black and African Nova Scotians. What is even happening? As you can see, It's basically like a double or triple wide outhouse that is made to live in. Now, somebody who lived in a van, I can vouch that, you know, tiny living is a good way to save money. But the segregation aspect of this is only for a select people of color and backgrounds is inherently kind of weird. Canada's so progressive that it's kind of racist. But I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Then you have videos like this showing up everywhere on the internet of Sobeys, which I believe is just a Canadian chain. I don't know if it's in America. Sobeys, if you haven't heard of it, grocery store, is showing that there's $110 for this oven roast premium. And as you can see, it's not really that big. Like, it's, you know, no bigger than a pretty large steak, but it's $110. That is the state of Canada, folks. People have horror stories every single day, increasingly more every single day, about the prices of food, of services, of goods here in Canada, and it's just getting out of control. They claim inflation is at 2 point whatever percent, but we all know shit is just out of control. We are spending more than we are making. We're spending more than we've ever spent. It making no sense at all, says Macbeth. Then you have Globe Politics sharing this post here about Jagmeet. The NDP used stock image from Russia in video weeks after decrying conservatives for doing the same. You can't make this up. It's absolutely hilarious. Now, his excuse is, we filmed that weeks ago. We're talking about, of course, one of the most pivotal moments in recent Canadian history, where Jagmeet Singh tore up the coalition deal with Justin Trudeau and the Liberals, which means nothing. Means nothing until effectively there's a election that's called. It doesn't really mean anything. Now, there was a lot of hype about it. I am guilty of that. But now that everything's kind of settled and he's just flirting with the idea of an election, is he going to call it? Is he not going to call it? He wants to get more people to search his name so that people can maybe see more of his policies and he can get more searchability and clout, or whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, unless he calls an election, it don't really matter. But it's kind of funny that they heavily criticized Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives for having Russian stock footage or AI generated stuff in their videos when he's guilty of the same. Not to mention the fact that I was used in his freaking video. I'm so blown away by this. And not that I'm expecting this to like blow up by any means, or for other, you know, creators to pick this up and be like, hey man, what the hell is Jagmeet doing? He's using House of Canada. But literally, I'm the only one, aside from the person who originally shared that post, not a single mention. You know, it's so funny because the media was so quick to use these search or keywords that Pierre Poilievre allegedly had in his YouTube description or videos, or in the 500 characters for video tags that you can put on a YouTube video. MGTOW, men go their own way, stuff like that, right? That real red pill, right-wing conservative, like, you know, anti-establishment stuff. And obviously it's since been removed, if it ever even existed. But not once has the media thought about, hey, let's take Mr. Sunshine Baby, the like a really large right-wing conservative person who's very anti-Trudeau and anti-Jagmeet, and talk about how the fact that Jagmeet is propping him up and using his face and his likeness in his actual video where he tore up the coalition. I mean, are they the exact same instances? No. Am I trying to blow it out of proportion to get on mainstream media? I don't know, but it wouldn't hurt. I mean, come on, man. That'd be kind of cool. Anyways, moving on here. You got Rick Perkins, Conservative MP, says, breaking motion passed. Common sense Conservatives to force Trudeau Liberals to face accountability for slush fund. As you can see, it's got the stamp of approval. Given the Auditor General's audit of Sustainable Development and Technology Canada, and given that government-appointed board members approved 59 million tendies towards 10 eligible projects, 76 million tendies towards 90 projects, 259 million tendies towards 96 projects, and the list goes on, and another 58 million. The committee therefore expresses extreme concern with the blatant disregard of taxpayer funds, and therefore calls on the Government of Canada to to recoup these funds for Canadian taxpayers, and that the committee report this matter to the House. We've seen a massive mismanagement of funds, and I think that would maybe contribute a little bit to just the overall incompetent outcome of this government, how bad things have really gotten, right? They're spending millions, billions of dollars effectively on making themselves richer. Not like Scotiabank, you're richer than you think, unless you're a liberal, then you're actually richer. But it just goes to show, man, that we need a complete audit of everything that's going on. We need to look under the hood. And the only ones that are promising to do that is the Conservative Party. Next up, you have Mark Carney here. He's back in the news because apparently he's going to give a speech at the Liberal caucus retreat next week. Let's take a look at what the mainstream media has to say.
What comes next? That is the looming question today, following a major move by the NDP this week to pull out of the deal to keep the Liberals in power. CTV's Jeremy Sharon has been tackling the fallout Jeremy.
Heather, while this move has sparked major questions about how soon Canadians could head to the polls, attention is also on two key by-elections just over a week away, and the NDP today focused its efforts in Montreal. Just days after shaking up the political landscape in Ottawa, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh was pitching his party's priorities in Montreal today, campaigning alongside the NDP candidate in La Salle et Mont-Verdun, a Liberal stronghold since its inception in 2015.
We've achieved some significant things. We forced them to bring in dental care. We forced them to bring in laws on farming care. We forced them to bring in laws to protect workers. We forced them to do a number of things. And it became clear that we've accomplished a lot of things. And now it's a point to move forward. We're no longer in the agreement. We've torn that up. We're going to move forward, vote to vote, and fight for Canadians.
For the second straight day, a deliberate push from the NDP to distance itself from the Liberals. Now just days ahead of two by-elections that are likely to provide a window into the impact of this political split on voters. The Montreal by-election is a big test for the Liberals after a stunning loss in Toronto-St. Paul's earlier this summer. It's a riding they're expected to win, but the NDP believe they have a chance too. While in Winnipeg, the New Democrats are hoping to hold off a Conservative push in the riding of Elmwood-Transcona, a longtime NDP seat where the Tories have been pushing to break through. Now, both the Liberals and the NDP will be convening their caucuses next week, where the fallout of ending the deal is expected to drive the political conversation. Heather?
Jeremy, thanks.
So we're going to have to wait and see how this does turn out. But a lot of people have been speculating, including the mainstream media, that Mark Carney could be put into Justin Trudeau's cabinet. So maybe he's going to run last second in a by-election. I don't really know. I think there's just a lot of speculation going around. But I will say this. Canada's finances are absolutely atrocious, and that can all be attributed to the incompetence of our finance minister, Chrystia Freeland. Now, is Mark Carney a better option to handle Canada's money than Chrystia Freeland? Well, yeah, he was the governor of the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England or whatever the hell. But is he, a WEF puppet? There's also that. So even though he is better with money, which would make him a better option than Chrystia Freeland as finance minister, it's still corruption versus corruption. I mean, the only way out of this is to get rid of our Liberal government and move things towards a Conservative government. And I got to say, I've never seen this much excitement for an election. Not the by-elections that they mentioned, but a federal election. It feels like everyone is ready for an election right now. And all sides of the spectrum, I think, would be happy if an election were called today. But I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Now we're taking a look at Jewish Task Force, which I don't know if it's a real thing, but apparently it is. You have more Jewish vigilante groups roaming U of T campus today. This one is calling themselves J-Force. As you can see, this post here is 4.7 million views at the time of this recording.
This is the vigilante organization that prowls around now on the University of Toronto campus. They are a vigilante group. Not sure what they're doing here among the students and faculty. J-Force, it says. J-Force. Perhaps they couldn't pass the test to become police, and now this is their lot in life.
I mean, it's think it's kind of funny no matter how you look at it, but I love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. I can only speculate to assume that J Forest would stand for Jewish Forest, but yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. And this is because of the rise of the pro-Palestine protests that are taking place. So we're going to be taking a look at that right now and how it's really not looking good for them. And now that politicians are heading back into parliament, I think you're going to start to see more and more politicians talk about this, and they might even make it illegal the way they made flying a Canadian flag illegal, because they are getting out of hand. It's costing the police tremendous amount of money. Specifically in Toronto, I think the total is over $30 or $40 million in the past year has gone towards police resources to attend to these things. And now that more and more resources are required, such as pepper spray, and arrests are being made, we're talking about a lot of money, and police is just not having it. But let's take a look at a series of videos here provided by Leviathan on X. So this is a large group of pro-Palestine protesters marching from UFT attempted to overtake the 777 Bay Street building in Toronto. Were met with pepper spray by the police.
TPS! Shame on TPS! What did they use?
Now, I'm going to go out on a limb and say the majority of the people here were happy that this happened to the Freedom Convoy and Freedom protesters, that we're not causing this much of a ruckus. We're not this consistent every single week, every single weekend for almost a year now. This has been ongoing. And so I don't know who they're looking for sympathy for, but it certainly isn't Canadian patriots. It's really become a nuisance, I suppose, but that's not me saying that. That's the police. Now we have another series of videos here also provided by Leviathan.
Once again, we are here to demand an end to any and all investment in arms manufacture that is responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people.
Shame, shame, TPS. There you go. And I can't play the video because it does show police making these arrests. But as you can see, there's a tremendous amount of police that met with all of the protesters here. And there are punches that are swinging. There are people resisting arrest, and they are being absolutely manhandled. And I just would like to take this moment right now to pass a question off to you. How do you feel about this? Are you happy to see this? Are you sad to see this? Let me know your thoughts down below. And we do actually have a couple more protest videos here.
That support Palestine, that want to shut down the campus to end the genocide, are willing to struggle, are willing to fight, are willing to fight for a better future and get involved and help us shut this campus down, we will win. And we need to tell them that.
Right. So shutting down Canadian campuses for matters that Canada has no real say in. This is an ongoing conflict that does not involve Canada. And actually, Canada has been pretty progressive. And if these pro-Palestine people actually looked at what Canada's doing, Canada has committed to, if we haven't already, taken refugees from Gaza. We've also provided humanitarian aid to people in Gaza, but we're also still funding Israel. So I don't know. It's crazy what is going on, but it seems like they really want to shut everything down. They tried shutting down ports. They tried shutting down airports, if I'm not mistaken. They've shut down roads. They're trying to shut down university campuses now that school is back in session. And as you can see here, another video from Leviathan. Protesters from UFT marched from campus and blocked a public street for prayer.
Said that the best form of jihad, and he was asked this question as he was about to mount a horse. and you mount a horse when you're about to enter battle. And one of the companions asked him, what is the best form of jihad? And this companion obviously had something in his mind. He knew what he wanted him to say. But the Prophet ﷺ surprised him, and he told him the best form of jihad is a word of truth to a tyrant. This is the best form of jihad that we can be doing, brothers and sisters. Speaking to the tyrants. Our brothers and sisters in Palestine have no voices. They are silenced. We need to be their voices, and we need to be able to speak these words of courage, these words of truth to these tyrants, and not allow them to silence us, inshallah. Allahumma fil muslimin wal muslimat wal mu'minina wal mu'minat.
So they're supporting jihad and promoting jihad here in Canada, the Islamic Jihad, which this is a reference to Hamas and Islamic Jihad, designated terrorist groups in Canada. But I mean, that's what Canada is. Canada harbors terrorists, for those that aren't fully caught up to speed on that. You even have the Ottawa mayor here is getting harassed, berated, and followed by pro-Palestine protesters at a public event. I have to mute the sound because there is some music that is playing. As you can see, they walk right up to him and they're yelling, "Free, free Palestine," and he just stands there and smiles. Because I mean, what else do you do when you live in a shoe? And then True North shared this clip here of Jagmeet making his rounds since the video that he released, using my face, my brand, my name, trying to insinuate that Mr. Sunshine Baby supports Jagmeet, and I've made it very clear that I do. Sorry, that was just a horrible time. I do not support Jagmeet Singh. But here he is on CBC, probably trying to perpetuate more lies, saying that Mr. Sunshine Baby does in fact support him. But I do not. But let's take a look at the video.
But if the decision had been made quite some time ago, to the point that you were able to shoot a video and do video production, wasn't this worth a phone call to the Prime Minister that you've worked with for the last 2.5 years on this to deliver things like dental care? Like, why didn't you pick up the phone and call Justin Trudeau and say, hey, we have to talk about this because I'm going to fundamentally change the political stability and the political landscape of the country? I mean, isn't it worth a phone call when you've been working together for 2 years?
We don't want to leave a door open to any new deal. There's no new deal here. The deal is done. I've ripped it up and we're moving forward. And so I don't want to open up the door to a potential negotiation or any future deal. The deal is done. We're going to go vote to vote, and we're going to continue to fight for Canadians, and we're going to bring that choice to Canadians. They've got a choice coming up, and it's going to be about who replaces this government. And that choice is between, at the federal level, you got Conservatives who want to cut with Pierre Poilievre, or you got New Democrats, you got me who's going to fight for working people. Okay. That's the choice.
Right. So he thinks that he has branded himself appropriately to be the man who's fighting for the working people. And a lot of people are going, yeah, I don't really buy your shit, including myself. I do not support Jagmeet Singh. Jeez, I always have a cough or a weird something that happens right when I'm in the middle of saying that I do not support Jagmeet Singh. Anyways, moving on. CTV here is covering the story about Canadian influencers that are allegedly paid by Russia. Now, I did make a video about this, apologizing on my extra account, and I also made a post about this on X, kind of mocking the situation, saying I've never been paid by Russia except for that trip to Moscow. I'm just kidding. I don't know if I'm being paid by Russia. I'm also just kidding. I'm not paid by Russia. Where I then admitted that it's probably not the best time to joke about something like this because jokes are bad here in Canada. We're not allowed to joke about anything or you go to prison. But let's take a look at what CTV has to say.
There is a Canadian connection at the core of an American investigation into a Russian interference campaign designed to disrupt its presidential election. 2 Russians are accused of directing a propaganda campaign and recruiting Quebec collaborators. CTV's Judy Trin reports.
The news cycle has been absolutely insane lately.
Canadian influencer Lauren Chen has hundreds of thousands of followers, but her channels have been taken off YouTube after allegations of Kremlin manipulation surfaced. On Wednesday, the U.S. Department of Justice charged 2 Russian media workers with money laundering and foreign interference, accusing them of meddling in the presidential election.
An internal planning document created by the Kremlin states that as a goal of the campaign is securing Russia's preferred outcome in the election.
court documents reveal a covert operation. The Russians allegedly bankrolled a shell company believed to be Tenet Media and directed the owners to create content that supported Donald Trump and to sow discord. Tenet was started by Chen and her husband Liam Donovan. The couple have a registered company in Hudson, Quebec, and have hired other right-wing influencers.
I'm asking Canadians, will you comply if there's another lockdown?
Among them, fellow Canadian Lauren Southern, who has railed against COVID measures, immigrants, and trans rights. According to the indictment, the Russians put more than $9.3 million into this propaganda project, some of which was paid to a Canadian company and deposited in a Canadian bank account. This expert in Russian politics is calling on the RCMP to investigate.
They also need to be looking at it to hold those individuals to account, the morally corrupt individuals who so willingly take money from a foreign government, an authoritarian foreign government, and collaborate with them.
In a statement, Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc says,
all right, so I'm just going to clear the air here. I have never been contacted by a Russian entity or any foreign entity I've never taken money from a foreign entity. I've never promoted a foreign entity's mission statement. I am completely independent. So now that that's been said, it just really, really grinds my gears that we have 11 traitors in Parliament and the government is allowing them to be on ballots. You can go and vote for somebody that's taken money, a politician from China or from a foreign government. It's a known fact. The RCMP knows about it. CSIS knows about it. We all know about it. Justin Trudeau knows all about it. Yet that still happens, that you have content creators that are under fire for getting sponsorship deals, which 9 times out of 8, you never have a sponsor that has the creative control over what to say in a video. And if there is a sponsorship, it's to promote like a service or a product, which I don't know, it just seems all very, very bizarre. And I think it's an attack on creators that are saying, hey, we don't agree with spending this much money on Ukraine when there are so many problems here in Canada that need to be fixed first. Now, this is something that a lot of Canadians, I'm going to go and say the majority of Canadians agree with. You walk anywhere, downtown, any big city, small town, you walk into the downtown core and you see veterans out on the streets, you see homeless people addicted to all these drugs that the government is literally supplying. You have a housing shortage, you have way too many immigrants, and our immigration system is completely flawed and clustered that you even have the Liberal government who created the problem are now pulling back on that very particular thing. We have so many issues in Canada, so many things that we should be doing first here in Canada before we start helping other countries that aren't even a part of NATO. That's just common sense. But I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. What is going to happen from this entire DOJ findings? Let me know what you guys think. And as always, at the end of the video, I'd like to encourage you guys one last time, if you haven't yet already, to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. It does really help grow the channel. I hope you turn on the little bell notification so you can actually be notified of upcoming videos, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.